a major new announcement here at PAX East this year was obviously Hearthstone from Blizzard, the new Warcraft digital trading card game that's coming out sometime this year. Bit of a shocker, that one. It's soon to be released. So first of all, let's just talk about what made you want to create this game from the beginning.
So we always start the same way with the games that we're really excited to play at Blizzard. That's usually based off what are the games that we're playing internally. So we've been big fans of collectible card games for a very long time now. And what happened is we basically had this idea to start up a new team at the company, and this is called Team 5. And the idea and the mission behind Team 5 is to be kind of a smaller team, scrappy, nimble development. And when we kind of looked around to figure out what's the right new game for us to begin with, this right experimental game to begin with, because we're such big fans of collectible card games, it just felt like a great match. So this is kind of how Hearthstone evolved, and we've been working on it now for a little while and excited to release it here at the show.
Anything to add?
Nope, that was perfect.
That was perfect. So, collectible card games, of course, we've got this World of Warcraft collectible card game. What is there in this that you felt like, hey, we have something to add, we can do something that's a little bit different than what everyone else is doing?
So the thing that we're excited about with Hearthstone is it's a game that everybody can jump in and play. We wanted a game with as few barriers as possible. So I'm a new player, I'm potentially going to be excited about collectible card games, and you can try our game in 5 minutes from now. Hey, I know how to play, I'm playing the game, I'm having a good time. Because we feel like that collectible card games are a fantastic genre, but that if we remove some of the barriers to entry, everybody could be playing in them and enjoying them.
So one other thing to add to that is just in addition to the accessibility that Eric's talking about, we feel like this is an awesome new window into the Warcraft universe. So there's a lot of charm in the effects. You can kind of see a lot of things that you might have some recollection from inside World of Warcraft, different spell effects and mechanics. But there's a lot of sort of sense of humor and sort of fun to Hearthstone that we're really excited with this particular game as well.
So how does the 9 classes come into that? What do they bring to the equation of the sort of the card game?
So each of the classes plays fairly differently because we wanted to have a game that there are a whole bunch of different matchups. So I start a game, and if I'm playing as a mage, I have the ability with my hero power and spells to deal direct damage tactically to the enemy. And say I'm playing against a warlock, that class has the ability to damage himself and draw additional cards. So it makes for a game where the mage is trying to kind of tactically control the battlefield, and the warlock is maybe trying to hold the mage off for a while while he can yet let his card advantage give him dominance. And so that's just 2 of the classes. There's a bunch of different matchups, and each of those matchups plays very, very differently.
So how do you sort of match that up? Because that's 9 different classes, 9 different combinations. Some of them may not work together as well as others. Is that something that you had to sort of figure out how to get that working?
What I'd say about that is just, Eric and his team have spent a lot of time working on the balance of the game. This is obviously a very important part of any collectible card game, is making sure that no matter which class you choose, that you have a kind of a good chance to go in with every other class. It's something that we're still obviously working on. We're getting ready to go into our beta come this summer. And obviously because we want to make this a game for everyone, it has to be kind of fair with each of these classes you might choose. So that's something that we're continuing to work through, but we're feeling pretty confident by the time we're ready for release, we'll have everything all that worked out.
So I was playing it out there, and I was trying out 3 different classes and sort of a beginner each game that I was playing. But how do you envision players playing this? Will they have one class that they'll play a lot with one deck, or do you configure different decks for different classes, or how's it laid out?
It's actually one of the great things about the game, because we expect some players to perhaps take their World of Warcraft class and go, I love the warrior, I'm playing the warrior, that's all I'm playing. And that's how they will play the game. And other players will play a broad spectrum of different classes, and they'll just play the game differently. So we're pretty excited about that possibility, that everybody has a different way of playing the game.
So I noticed when I was playing that at a certain point I just ran out of cards, and I'm not the most sort of veteran card game player, so I was kind of like, I'll probably get some good cards, but I was spending them a little bit too fast. Is that a big part of the strategy in the game, that you have to manage your cards and make sure that you can sort of keep the cards that, for later on?
There's actually sort of 2 competing forces at work. One is the tempo of play, and in a direct attack game, which this is, the tempo is very important. So if I have guys on the table and you didn't put out cards because you were sort of trying to conserve your cards, you're going to get in trouble because I'm going to kill your hero. But on the other hand, if you spend all of your cards very quickly and I have cards and you don't, obviously you're going to get in trouble. So you're always trying to manage your hero's health and sort of the tempo of the game with how many cards I have versus the number of the cards the opponent has.
So one thing that I didn't get to play around was the deck building, and you made a big deal about how opening the PAX and how building your deck has to be sort of a very big part of the experience. How do you sort of go about doing that, and what kind of things can we expect from the deck building?
Absolutely, I think that's kind of core to Hearthstone for sure. So one of the things that you can expect when you go in the collection manager process, which is where you go to build your decks, is we want to keep that accessible in line with the rest of the game. So one of the things we put in there is a feature that helps you give you recommendations of what you can add to your deck. So even if you're not super comfortable with what cards feels right for my particular class, what I can do is I can go over and click a button and just say, you know what, of all the cards you have in your collection, these 3 might be a good one for you to be thinking about adding to your deck. So I click on that and then just can take another look at my deck and sort of say, okay, now that you've got that in there, are there other things that might help get you into a more rounded, well-balanced deck? And so it's going to give you these choices over and over again based off what the best things are you could be adding to your deck. So the idea behind that is really just to kind of be thinking about how can we make that as accessible as the game itself. And that's built into a lot of the design and the layout of the deck builder.
So also another thing that's very interesting is the crafting of cards. The fact that you can actually sort of, if you want something specific, you can actually go out there and make it, which in a way sort of speaks to me a little bit against the whole opening packs and sort of trying to get that card that you're looking for, but at the same time sort of makes sense in a digital space that, you know, it's for player ease and use. What do you think about when you sort of design that aspect?
When we were designing crafting, sort of our goal was to make a system so a player who wanted a specific card and felt like they had a specific card had a way to get it, because it's very frustrating to not be able to get that card. On the other hand, when you play these sorts of games, you often get extra cards that you don't want, whether it's too many cards of a specific type, or it could be, I love playing the mage, I'm not really interested in playing the shaman, so I don't really care about those shaman cards. So in either case, you want to have a way of taking those cards that are not important to you and turning them into a card that is important to you. And we looked at a number of different ways to make that transition or transfer happen, and this seemed like the best way that was player focused, in that a player can instantly, without waiting, turn the cards they don't like into the cards they do like, and then they're immediately playing with those cards, it's just the right way to play.
So were you thinking about like an auction system as an alternative to that, and sort of why did you not want to go that route?
I mean, that's one thing that certain games work really well with an auction system. We obviously have that in World of Warcraft. For us, though, given the type of game we're trying to build with Hearthstone, an in-game player-driven economy wasn't necessarily the right match. We really want to keep this a very accessible, fast process to kind of get the cards you're looking for. So this is why we came with trading as the primary way that players are getting those cards.
So
crafting is the way they get the cards.
So obviously, Battle.net sort of affords you a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise have if you were just releasing a game like this in a browser or wherever. What kind of sort of Battle.net features can players expect from Hearthstone?
So players will definitely be able to make friends with their basically any battle tag or real ID friends that they have in Hearthstone and play the games against them. You'll also have the ability to chat with those friends in the context of the game. We're using Battle.net for matchmatching, so that's the back end that's actually determining who you're going to be paired up against, and those are kind of the really key things that we're going to be using Battle.net.
So do you want to bring in your veterans from World of Warcraft to try this game? Are they going to be part of the beta, or are you going to give them early access, or are you thinking about anything like that?
So we definitely have the beta, and all of our fans who actually are interested can kind of go and sign up on the website to join the beta. It's really important to us that players who have played World of Warcraft in the past, that they see things here that they recognize and can kind of come in and really see a lot of familiar things. And in fact, this game is really designed for people who haven't necessarily played collectible card games in the past, so anybody can kind of come in and try it out. So absolutely, if you're a WoW player, this is a game that you can definitely pick up and enjoy.
So obviously, you said you want to do a card game. Why did you want to go with Warcraft instead of perhaps one of your other franchises or something entirely new?
So what Warcraft brings to the table is a whole bunch of heroes, and we wanted to be able to play with those heroes, and it also has tons and tons of history in an enormous world. So we can have murlocs and ogres and all the different characters and the named characters and this enormous pool of things to draw from. So it lets us build tons and tons of cards based on those things. And of course, it's based on these heroes that characters have often an emotional connection with. So it's exciting to be able to play Thrall or to be able to play Jaina or any of those other big characters.
No, I think that.
So in terms of that, I mean, obviously all these kind of creatures and characters, they have sort of a set, people have a perception of how powerful they should be, how strong they should be, what kind of things they should do. Was that sort of a thing that made it easier to design the cards, or was it something that sort of created problems as you wanted to sort of be flexible with these kind of things?
For the most part, it's actually made it easier. So we've gone, well, we want to have a smaller creature. A Murloc sounds perfect for that. We want to have a more powerful creature. Oh, an ogre or maybe a dragon sounds good for that. And there's certainly been specific instances where we've had to go back and forth a little. We recently been talking about, for instance, the Deathwing card. And for balance reasons, we thought, well, do we need to change its power or not? We don't know, but we want it to be very, very powerful because, of course, Deathwing has to be powerful. So there have been specific instances, but in general, it's actually been a huge help for designing the game.
So the free-to-play model, of course, new to Blizzard. How are you sort of thinking about that right now, and sort of what can players expect?
We always start in the same place with our games, which is we start with the game first. And no matter what, that's kind of the beginning. Make sure we have a really great core gameplay experience and feel like that's in a really solid place. Once we have that, we go and take a look at what's the right business model to support that. So in the case of Hearthstone, we felt like free-to-play was a pretty good match with the overall vision and design behind the game to keep it very broadly accessible. Anybody can come up and pick it up and play. There's not a big sort of financial investment you have to make to come in and check it out. So it just felt like a really good match.
So I wanted to ask a little bit about the cards, the different rarity levels, and sort of how that influences sort of the cards and your deck building. So could you detail that a little bit?
Well, so we have different rarities of cards. We have from common cards that you get a lot of to the epic cards, which are the most rare cards or almost the most rare cards. There's also golden cards, which look fantastic, but they have the same exact powers as a normal card. But anyway, back to the normal through epic cards or through legendary cards. What we wanted to do is, I guess delightful surprise is a term that we use a lot when we're talking about the game as a whole, and we want that to be pervasive throughout the game. So when I'm being dealt a hand of cards, I want to look at that hand of cards and go, oh wow, I can't believe I drew that. Or when I open a pack, we want you to go, oh, it's Deathwing, that's awesome, and be super excited about it. So the rarity has been very important for creating that sense of surprise and excitement as you're opening cards, as you're drawing cards, etc., etc.
So next up is the beta. People can sign up already. What's the yes, to close it out? What has the reaction been like when fans have played it here at PAX East?
I'd say that it's generally been pretty consistent. When the first time people hear about Hearthstone, they kind of turn their head a little bit and say, that's a little different from what I usually expect from Blizzard. And then what happens is once they come down and play it, the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive. Everyone has a super strong reaction, feels like, oh, this is absolutely the same quality and sort of sense of production values and fun that I'm used to seeing in Blizzard games. It's a little smaller in scope, but it's a great play experience. And so that's kind of the reaction we've been getting over and over again, both internally at Blizzard as well as here on the show floor as people check it out.
Yeah, it's exactly that. People come in, they go, I've never been excited about collectible card games before for whatever reason, and they come and try Hearthstone out and go, but on the other hand, I'm really having a good time with this game. So it's been a wonderful feeling for us to kind of get all of that excited feedback.
Right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft.